my goodness, my guys. It's been a while, huh? Couple of weeks. All right, Steve, married yet or what? I don't know. You never know what's going to happen in 2 weeks.
It does feel like it's been a really long time.
It
It's
does.
been a couple of weeks.
It's weird because normally we do so many playoff shows for the Chiefs.
Right, yeah.
And so, like, hey, man, I didn't know that this was already too soon. But, like,
I mean,
because we started the offseason in January this year, it felt different.
It does. Please don't judge me. I am this is all I had.
I was about to say
it
took everything inside of me to not say,
well,
Ron, you're drinking out of the exact same glass that you gave me crap for 2 weeks ago.
Well, no, it's not the glass. No, I don't have a problem with the glass. It looked like you were drinking the Chardonnay, but you banged down a little bit more. Listen, this is all I had. This is Kettle One and Dr. Pepper Zero Cherry is what this is. Very an odd combination. I see the face. No, this is what I had. This is staying away from the sugars.
I am big on the Coke Zeros.
Oh God, I will see the Dr. Pepper, the cherry Dr. Pepper Zero changes lives. Right there. Listen, we could use the sponsor.
Straight Eagle Rare. That's the move tonight. Straight Eagle Rare.
That's a beautiful glass. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's exactly what that deserves to go in. It's got a little twist to it. Wow, that is beautiful. All right. I made the mistake that I have been avoiding, and I have tried to avoid doing this. All right. And I have basically turned myself into Steve Serda. And I don't want to be talked out of it. To be honest with you, I have made up my mind.
You like fun. You don't like poo-pooing things that make football fun.
It was a very cool, calm day in the month of February, and I was on a treadmill. And I'm listening to Brett Veach, and Brett said, and made it very clear, hey, we have got to get explosive in the run game. He made that clear, right? And we know when these cats go to the combine, there's sometimes like the talking points that they've come out and wanted to express, and it was clear. Explosiveness at the running back position. I heard Brett Veach say it on different occasions. That was the talking point. And then I messed up and did something I refused to do. Please, by the way, if you're with us, please like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you don't, please. But I found a 22-minute tape of Jeremiah Love highlights. And BK, I know that you're disappointed, but it wasn't just highlights, okay? It was every carry and every catch that I believe of positive yardage that he made. Every one of them. So I saw 4-yard runs. I saw 3-yard runs. I saw 94-yard run. I saw 5-yard catches. I saw it all. And I have been on this very show repeatedly against them drafting a running back at 9. I even came on and said, I'm going to have to convince myself because it seems like everybody believes that this is what the Chiefs are going to do. And then I watched that video and I am completely on board with drafting Jeremiah Love at 9. I don't know what has happened. I don't know. I'm allowing measurements now to make me believe that Reuben Bain is damaged goods. He got me. He got me. There are exceptions to everything, BK, and this son of a bitch is special. I am sorry. I know it was Boston College sometimes. I know it was Navy, but it was also Miami. It was also A&M. And that dude, I think, would instantly be potentially an argument as their number one weapon. I saw Saquon Barkley. Maybe I'm getting aggressive, but I'm sorry. He may be the best player in the draft. That dude is different. That's not just like we can talk about all the other guys, the Travis Etienne. That dude is different. It will affect the game, man. I'm sorry, man. There are sometimes there are exceptions to rules, and damn it, that dude is it. I am fully there, BK. I know you're going to try to talk me out of it. I will not have it. And I purposefully did not watch any of his highlights because I knew he would get me here. I knew he would get me here. And I was stunned on a treadmill. I turned a 22-minute video into 43 minutes, and I was on that treadmill and he motivated me. I started on a 5 incline. I was on a 12 by the end of it because of the motivation of Jeremiah Love. I'm sorry, I'm in. I just think he's different, BK.
I'm not going to try to talk you out of it because I told you I think it'd be awesome. It'd be a hell of a lot of fun. What I'm surprised by is that you didn't think the guy that averaged 7 yards per attempt over the last 2 years and finished third in the Heisman and is probably the best player in this year's draft, as is like basically consensus at this point in time. Like, I'm surprised you didn't think that it was going to look the way that it did. What did you think that running back was going to look like when you watched him? He's unbelievable. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He's better. Like, he is, in my opinion, a better version of Ginty. I think he is closer to like Bijan Robinson than he is Ashton Ginty.
He's really strong and really fast and big, and he breaks tons of tackles. I'm watching the highlights now.
Competition. Like, there's no question about, and he's incredibly athletic. That was one of the things with Ginty last year. Like, he's not one of those freak athletes that you see. Whereas Jeremiah Love, we'll see how he tests this week. We're recording this on Thursday, so we have not seen the official numbers if he ends up doing everything. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's going to test very well. Like, potential
make it worse.
Low 4.4. Maybe high 4.3s in the 40. He's going to be a really good tester. So, no, I'm not going to try to talk you out of this, Ron. If they draft Jeremiah Love at number 9 overall, I will get it. I will understand the rationale behind it. He's probably the best overall football player in this year's class. What I struggle with is setting up your offseason to where you need to draft Jeremiah Love at number 9.
That's fair.
And if you don't set up your offseason to draft Jeremiah Love at 9, then I struggle with how you get yourself to draft Jeremiah Love at 9. So it's just an order of operations. If the first thing that took place was the draft and then we got to free agency, I would be on here, honestly, probably pounding the table for them to either take the best defensive end, best wide receiver, or Jeremiah Love at number 9. Just whoever is left at that spot. But given the way that the offseason is structured in the NFL, that's where it gets really difficult.
That part is fair. That part is fair. I guess Serda and BK, I got a couple of things on Jeremiah Love. I've really thought this over, and I just wanted to bombard you all both with this. What is the likelihood at 9 they get him? Like how high up? Because everything I see on mocks, he gets there. The Saints I've seen a couple of times, but most mocks I see that he gets there. Like what is it like? Because what BK brings up is, are you going to put yourself in a position where all of a sudden, like, somebody else comes up and gets him, and now you got to try to get Price or somebody else, and now everybody, ETN is gone, and Rico Dowdle is gone, or whatever, and you're leaving it there. Damn, man, I don't know. I'm willing to take the chance, and I'm wondering how big the chance is of him being there.
I think we'll know more after this week. And BK said, like, I think his testing numbers, like, if his testing is ridiculous, then, like, hell, he might go even higher than anybody's anticipating, but because I think he's that talented of a player. But I feel right now, like it's pretty the chances are pretty decent that he could be there at 9 just because of positional value. But he's really talented, and I think he's going to be a really, really good NFL running back. And I think it's probably, like I've been preaching all offseason, I don't think it's necessarily good practice to take running backs this high in the NFL draft. But also, if you're the Chiefs, like, you need difference makers. And I think as far as the crapshoot that is the NFL draft, like, he's as close to like that dude's gonna be a stud. You know that guy's gonna be a difference maker as soon as you get him onto an NFL field. And there's not that many players you can definitively say that about in any draft class ever. And I think he is one of those players for the Chiefs.
I think there's a pretty good shot that he goes before the Chiefs. The thing is, like, there are so few spots where I think he can go. Like, he's not going 1 to Vegas. That's not happening. They're going quarterback. Yeah, he's not going to the Jets. It sounds like they're keeping Breece Hall. I'd be shocked if the Cardinals go that direction. They need everything. They're starting over. Maybe the Titans. Titans at 4 would probably be the first spot that I could see it.
But they need everything too, though.
Exactly. The only reason that I think they could potentially go that direction is just because, like, they have a defensive-minded coach, young quarterback. Do we make things easier on him by giving him a better running game and put that on Jeremiah Love? Maybe, but I agree with you. I think it's unlikely. Giants, I'd be shocked. Cleveland, nope. And then Washington at 7, New Orleans at 8. I think both of them could do it. I could see how both of them could convince themselves, hey, this guy's too special. He makes sense for us. Both of them have young quarterbacks as well. That's the kind of spot where maybe it could go. But, man, it's limited. It's basically 3 spots in front of the Chiefs that I think could even take him conceivably. And I don't think anybody's trading up for a running back in the top 10 of this year's class. So he could be there. I don't think it's outlandish at all to believe that Jeremiah Love, who's probably the best player in this year's draft, could be there at 9.
But you're right. You can't plan it. Like, you can't be Brett Veach to say we have to get explosive at the running back position. And yes, Jeremiah Love answers that. Unless Brett Veach is in, I don't give a rip, I'm gonna get him. I don't know about that, but I mean, for a running back, but this dude that's the thing that scares me with him, is because I've heard BK say this maybe 3 or 4 times in the 12 minutes we've been doing this, that Jeremiah Love may be the best player in the draft. And there are some spaces where you just can look at teams that are just saying, well, hell, I'm going to draft him, and this guy may be the best player in the draft. Like, I'm going to draft him. And that's the kind of stuff that makes you nervous. I don't know, man. I do think you have to give yourself something, right? I don't know if it's a lower player. The flirtation of ETN is sounded like that has picked up last week, and that was something that I would have been happy with prior to my 43 minutes on the treadmill. I would have been all for the ETN. He scored 13 touchdowns, by the way, last year. I did not know that he had that in him, that it was that much. But damn it, man, this guy here.
And like the ETN stuff, like, honestly, I think he'd be a fine addition. I think he can do a lot of things that the Chiefs like at the running back spot. But like, it's going to be kind of expensive. Probably it's not going to be like, I don't think like crazy money for a player of his caliber. But I think the thing with him is that, like, he doesn't really like excite me that much. Jeremiah Love excites me because of his potential as an NFL prospect. But then it does feel like a dramatic overcorrection from Brett Veach after just absolutely refusing to go anywhere near running backs after drafting Clyde and then taking one in the top 10. But like, I just think that it would be fun as hell. And Patrick Mahomes has legitimately never had a player like that in the backfield outside of Kareem Hunt for half a season in 2018.
That is interesting, BK. He said Travis Etienne doesn't excite him. I would have been excited about that. And I still can see that excitement there. How would you gauge ETN, because that has started to pick up?
I guess I would just ask this as a follow-up, sort of like, if ETN doesn't excite you at running back, other than Jeremiah Love, who does this offseason?
I mean, if you could get Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker, I would be pretty excited about those players, but it's not going to happen.
So, and I honestly think Kenneth Walker's probably going to get transition tagged. I know there was the report that he's not going to get franchise tagged. It was a very specific report. They did not say he won't be tagged. They said no franchise tag. The transition tag's still available. They could also re-sign him to a long-term extension. So let's assume at a minimum Breece Hall is unavailable. So the running backs available this offseason that would excite you are just Kenneth Walker and Jeremiah Love, which is fair. I'm just genuinely asking.
Yeah.
I would add Travis Etienne to that mix for me.
I think he's a good player. I do think that like his numbers and they tend to trend down towards the ends of seasons, and it's been the case like his entire NFL career. Like he gets banged up, he gets run down, and maybe there is something to that. Like he's not going to take on that type of workload with the Chiefs. So yeah, maybe he could be an effective player who's going to be able to go on, January postseason runs, but I do worry about that with him as a player.
The reason that I like it is because I think he's just the perfect fit for what they need. We all know what they lacked last year, and really this has been the case for the last couple of years. Their running game lacks explosive elements to it.
Yep.
And Travis Etienne, for all of his flaws, and he is a flawed running back. I agree with you, Serda. That's one of the things. Like you look at Breece Hall, he doesn't really have flaws. You look at Jeremiah Love, doesn't really have flaws. And so that's why those guys are so exciting, because they can do anything. Anything you want, they've got it. They are good. And like the one question that I have with Jeremiah Love is pass protection, but whatever. He's a good receiver, so just send him on a route. I'm not worried about it. Etienne's bad in pass protection, like actively bad in it for the most part. And his vision has not been great for most of his NFL career either. And he has some like boom or bust nature to him as a player. So there are issues with him, but he's also only going to cost you like $11 to $12 million per year. That's not bad for a running back of his caliber. I just think it's such a huge upgrade over what they've had previously, and it locks in the position. Like this is something that people at home should probably do is think about, okay, an either or with combinations. So you can either go to the free agent market and sign Travis Etienne and then use the number 9 overall pick, let's say on a wide receiver. Or you could go to the free agent market to get that wide receiver. And let's say it's the same amount of money. So it's $12 million a year for whoever that receiver is that you want. And then you use the number 9 overall selection for Jeremiah Love. Go do that and tell me which of those combinations you'd prefer. And look at the free agent market and look at those wide receivers that you could get for the kind of money that we're talking about to Travis Etienne.
Right now, I would prefer the Jeremiah Love combination.
I'm very confident most people would come away from that exercise saying they'd rather have the wide receiver at 9 and Travis Etienne than the Jeremiah Love plus whatever wide receiver you're getting at $12 million a year, like your Keenan Allen of the world.
Listen, I want to get to the wide receiver because I think that's a big conversation, and we have not been able to come together before we talk about who. How about that number 10 jersey opening up with Pacheco potentially being out? But I want to know this because we just talked about ETN, and for me, I think exactly what you said, BK, is ETN fits exactly what it is that they want to do, and he does it better, right? He does it better than whatever they've had. He can be a weapon in the passing game. He can run, get tough yards. He's got, like you said, man, his ability to get big plays. That was a big thing for him last year, was the amount of 15, 20-plus yard plays he got. But I don't think he changes the way that the Chiefs do business. Let's say the Chiefs are targeting Jeremiah Love, and that's where they want to go. By the way, almost every draft person that we've seen, from Mel Kiper to Bucky Brooks to Daniel Jeremiah, for the most part, they have him going to the Chiefs. Would that signal to you guys that the Chiefs are going to, in some way, change how they run offense? I don't think ETN does. But does Jeremiah Love signal to you a shift in some way of how they're going to run offense? Because, like, one of the things I do love about Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Love is a big play waiting to happen. And so I don't think Jeremiah Love is the type of person like Derrick Henry that may need, 25 carries to get up to several many yards. I think Jeremiah Love could have 15 carries or 15 touches in a game, and he could be over 150 yards. But I mean, would that signal to you, if they went and got Jeremiah Love, that we may see a real shift in how they run offense?
No.
You don't think so? Okay.
It would
You think
just
they'll do
signal
what they
to
do?
me. Yeah, I mean it's Andy Reid. I think we know what he's going to do. It would signal to me that they're going to get more out of what they do, and I think that's ultimately what we're talking about here: is how do you maximize what the Chiefs' running game is? I think that there are going to be tweaks to it. I would anticipate. Hey, Eric Bieniemy, you've said this before, Ron. He didn't just go to Chicago, work under Ben Johnson for a year, take away nothing, and then come right back home and like he's going to just run the Andy Reid offense again, exactly the way that it was a year ago. He's going to put some of his fingerprints onto the offense. You know, he's not an empty seat here as the OC. So I think there will be some tweaks. I don't think this will be a situation where you're suddenly a 50-50 run team the way the Buffalo Bills were this year, though. I think it'll just be you get more when you run the football.
Sort of my only reason to that is, and I think the points that BK made are very clear, is what we've seen, though, is whenever Andy has gotten an ultra talented piece, he adjusts it. When he got T.O., we did not see the receivers operate the way that they did, and then they got T.O., it was different. When he got Patrick Mahomes, I don't know that we ever saw his offenses look the way it did, and then it changed. I don't know if he's ever had tight ends do the things that it's done until he got Kelsey. That is my only thing is, does he look at this and say, because would you say that if we look back, like Jeremiah Love would clearly be the most talented, different type of running back that he's ever had, right? Westbrook is the best running back he's ever had.
I would argue Charles still in that conversation, but yeah, like he's got the potential to be that. Jeremiah Love does.
Yeah,
Jamal, I mean, yeah, Andy had Alex Smith and Jamal Charles, and he would still. There'd be games where Jamal would have like 10 touches, and Alex Smith would throw the ball 35 times.
That's fair.
So I mean, I do think that like there is something to that though. Like I would hope that if the Chiefs got a player like him and he is that explosive and he's ripping off huge gains, which is just the last 2 seasons, they've just had such a god awful like run game that it's not explosive, doesn't barely adds positive yards, even though everybody wants to bank on like the yards, the like average like positive yard gain by the Kansas City Chiefs rushing attack. Like you just need somebody who's a legitimate threat, like Travion Henderson for the New England Patriots. Like, I know he had an up and down rookie season, but man, that dude can fly, and he is explosive as hell, and he is a home run hitter. Like Jeremiah Love can be that type of player, and he's massive, and he can break tackles, and he can handle like all of the work. So
you go at 9, that's a hell of a commitment. I just like when you're drafting at 9, like that is.
He'd probably be one of the highest paid running backs in the league already.
Being
drafted number 9 overall.
You drafted 9, like that is to me, that is a commitment and a shift of like this dude ain't about to he ain't gonna just come in here and beat you, like get 10 touches a game. And I honestly think he could be the best like weapon for them that's an argument. Speaking of that, because you brought up like the scenario of the wide receiver and Travis Etienne. Tyreek Hill has been released. The immediate connection has been to the Chiefs. Many people have talked about it. It looks like it. We've seen his messages. It appears that he has interest in coming back to the Chiefs. Eric Bieniemy is back. Travis may be going for one more ride. He's got his dude. It makes sense. Now, we don't know about the injury thing with him. And would you say the Chiefs are in need of receiver help? I think they're in need of receiver help maybe on multiple levels. I think they're in need for receiver help with Rashee Rice's ass, potentially at the very top. I think they're in receiver help, maybe a third or a fourth receiver. What's you guys' feeling on Tyreek Hill coming back?
So let's start with what you said there about the receiver position overall, because I think that's a really important place to begin, and then we can get to the Tyreek of it all. Yeah, this team is in desperate need of a wide receiver at this point.
You would
can
say
no longer,
desperate. You
can't trust Rashee Rice. I have no idea if he's ever going to play a game for the Chiefs again. Like, I just don't know.
Well, hold on. You think that's on the table?
I don't know, man. I mean, maybe, yeah, because I think it's entirely possible we're looking at a double-digit game suspension. And if that ends up happening, are you going to stick around with him and just wait for him for the final 4 games of the regular season and hopefully it works out that he's ready to go and reincorporates himself into your offense? Or are you going to put your offense together and assume he's never playing for you, and then you just kind of move on after this season? So, yeah, I think you at least have to be open to that possibility at this point in time. And, man, we've still got a long time in this offseason. We got, 5 months to go before we even get to training camp. I can't trust that he's going to be able to keep himself out of trouble for the next 5 months, because it seems like every offseason there's at least one, if not multiple, stories at this point in time. So, I think you've got to plan on what does life look like without Rashee Rice. And in that scenario, whether it's this year or beyond, because he sure as hell is not going to be here beyond this season, you need a number 1 receiver. Because even if you love Xavier Worthy and still think that guy can be a good player in the NFL level,
he's not a 1.
He doesn't profile as a 1. He's a guy that's supposed to get you the big plays. So there are very few of those players out there. And that's why I think it's important to put in context the need at the receiver position. I don't think they're a team that should be in the Rashid Shaheed mix. They're not a Deebo Samuel team. They're not, even in my opinion, like a Romeo Doubs team. I don't think he makes sense for what they need. I think it's very specific what they're looking for, and there are very few players that actually fit into that criteria.
Yeah. When you look at it, the element, if you just take Rice out, because I do think a lot of those guys would fit that if Rice was there. But you're right. I think you have to probably operate in a way of, like, he may not be there. If it was 6 this time, it's probably trending towards 10, this time with everything that's happened. And then have you reached the point where I'm ready to get out of this business of the Rashee Rice thing? And with that, I think you're going to need multiple guys. Right? Because, like, right now, what are we looking at? Let's just say, all right, Rashee Rice gets suspended 10 games. We're bouncing out of that business. Or at least we know we're out 10 games. That is what Xavier Worthy, Royals,
Jason Brownlee, Andrew Armstrong, and Jimmy Holiday. That's your list of receivers currently on the roster.
Who the hell is Andrew Armstrong?
I know.
Who in the hell is that? I'm sorry. Please like and subscribe, by the way. If you know Andrew Armstrong, please send us a message. I don't know who that person is.
He obviously went to Arkansas.
Clearly, of course. But I don't know about you, Serda. Obviously, this depends on the injury. I don't know. I think if Tyreek Hill is. By the way, I don't know about you all. The off-the-field stuff, I don't, for some reason, worry about as much with Tyreek Hill. To me, I'm not saying I don't worry about it. I mean, I saw your eyes there. That was. But to me, I'm more worried about, like, what does this leg look like? Like, that's like the bigger thing.
Yeah.
To me. If he's anything close to what he was before he got injured, because I think there was a little bit of a Randy Moss situation. When I say that, like when Randy was with the Raiders and he's just going through the motions. Like, I mean, he wasn't even getting his hair braided. He was just letting it out, and putting a helmet on at that point. So I think there was a little bit there. If he is close to that, I think obviously you get an upgrade at the running back position. Maybe you get Kelce to come back or whatever. You get some. I think he would suffice as close enough to the 1. He's not that guy that was playing before he had that injury. I think that guy was still a low-end 1. Is that fair? Or maybe better than a low-end 1? I think it was.
Yeah, I think there is some of that. And Dolphins offense last season was so just like awful to watch. Like Tua was just terrible and just afraid to throw the ball, afraid to like try to find anything that wasn't around the line of scrimmage. That's why Achane had like 1 million catches, because everything was just a dump off to Achane last season. So I can understand why Tyreek was getting frustrated. But I do think that part of me, it's like, if he is healthy, I do think that there's still a player there who's better than people probably believe. I just don't know how he could be, man. Like, at that age with that knee injury, like, his leg was facing the wrong direction. And uh and I also just think that the Chiefs are like at a stage where it's like you're you gotta kind of move on, and you gotta figure out what this next thing looks like.
Move
And
on to
that
what,
feels
though?
like it just feels like that's living a little too much in the past. And and like at this point, it kind of feels like Travis Kelce's coming back, which I'm obviously fine with. But I want them to move on. I want them to find the next answers. I don't want to go back to Tyreek Hill at this point.
But real quick, BK, for you jump in, as we said, what are they? You said Worthy, and then you said a bunch of people that Jalen Royals. I got Brownlee, but come on, you said a bunch of guys. Like, there's different levels of what they need, right? They could essentially go and get ETN and then draft a receiver in the first round. And like, I'm not saying you draft or you bring in Tyreek potentially to be the big fish. Like I said, I think you could have multiple levels of receivers needed here. So that's when you said they've got to move on, it feels like Tyreek is going to be potentially affordable. Right? Like, I don't think he's going to you don't think Tyreek's going to go for as much as Alec Pierce goes for.
Oh,
right?
no.
So, you know what I mean? So I think he's affordable, and maybe the years are down and he's motivated. I don't know. I think it may fit.
I think he's going to get a 1-year deal. I think he's going to have
Yes.
to prove himself again, and then he'll hope to break the bank again in the next offseason. I also think he's your last resort. I think the way that this offseason is going to go, it's almost the opposite of the Jeremiah Love situation. I don't think anybody's signing Tyreek Hill anytime in the near future. He's coming back from this significant knee injury. He said himself on a Twitch stream, hey, I've still got another LCL surgery to go. So if you're still waiting on the next surgery, I'm going to operate under the assumption that's probably not going to be healed up, ready to go for you to pass a physical within the next couple of weeks. I don't think he's signing prior to the start of the NFL draft. So I think the Chiefs will be able to operate through free agency into the NFL draft, and then have Tyreek Hill on the back burner of, hey, if it doesn't work out for us with any of these other targets that we're looking at, or if the draft board falls in a certain kind of way, we can then circle back with Tyreek, sign him on a team-friendly deal with a bunch of not likely to be earned incentives that could potentially hit for next year's cap where they're a little better in a situation. This could work out for everybody involved. So that's the scenario where I think Tyreek could make sense for them. I would just rather see them go a couple of different routes first before they get there. Now, go ahead.
No, because I think you're about to go on what I was saying. Go ahead.
I would rather see them kick the tires on Mike Evans first. I would rather see them kick the tires on Jawan Jennings first. I would rather see them try to make a move for one of Parker Washington or Brian Thomas Jr. first. Those are guys that I think make more sense this offseason. And then if none of those work, then you see how the draft board falls. And then maybe one of Mekhi Lemon or Carnell Tate are there at number 9 overall. Or maybe if you make a move for Trent McDuffie and you get a late first-round pick for him, you could go get a Denzel Boston or a KC Concepcion or a Chris Brazzell. Like, there are other guys available in that range. There are a lot of really talented receivers in this year's draft. So you could potentially solve this issue elsewhere before you land on the Tyreek Hill option.
That's where I was going to ask, because you guys seem a little, not a little, you guys seem a little in a different space on. You said, Serda, you want to it's time to move on. You said last resort. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you put it together, we know Worthy is there. Like, what's the ideal, like, top 4 type? And maybe you don't have to give complete names, but you just threw a few. Like, your dream, you're like, they walk in the building with this game plan, and Brett Veach made this happen, and this is the other receivers around Worthy. What is that? What does that look like?
I think Mike Evans would be somebody I'd be really interested in. If they
Really?
somehow did
They've just never had a
like a
receiver
like
like
a but if they somehow pulled off like a Brian Thomas trade, like that is a dream. Like that's a dream scenario. Brian Thomas has size, speed, and like he has all of it. And he had a really bad year number 2. But I just think a lot of that was like
There's no
new
chance that's
coach,
happening,
young
right?
player, like it just didn't seem to ever really like gel and click. And maybe they're really trying to move off of him, but that dude's got all the talent in the world.
There's no way that happens, right? He's
Dude,
got a 1,300-yard season, and then I mean, he's year 3.
So,
Like,
first of all, it's a new regime there. Keep that in mind.
they didn't draft
that
him.
can't be overstated. They didn't draft him. They did make a huge investment, and I know they're saying all of the right things about, hey, Travis Hunter's going to play more corner than wide receiver next year. All right, but you drafted the guy as a wide receiver and a corner, and you made a historic level of trade to go up there and make that kind of an investment. I think you probably still want to see him play receiver. They also just gave this regime an extension to Jacoby Myers, and Parker Washington was their number 1 guy down the stretch. So if you've got all 3 of those receivers, there's nowhere for Travis Hunter to play in 3 wide receiver sets, which is what they're in most of the time. I think they would like to go out there, and all reports seem to indicate they'd like to add another tight end this offseason as well to play more 12 personnel next year. I don't know. They are also, if you want to go look at their cap situation, their situation's way worse than what the Chiefs are in right now. The Chiefs have ways to open up space. The Jaguars are stuck, dude. They have nothing available to them this offseason. So one of the few ways where they can get draft capital to get younger, even though Brian Thomas is not exactly like an old guy, but to get younger and cheaper and to have another influx of young talent is to trade away a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. So I know it seems crazy. I agree with you, Ron. I wouldn't do it if I was the Jaguars. They're in a tricky situation this offseason where they actually might be forced into that, kind of similar to the Chiefs with Trent McDuffie, where normally I wouldn't be advocating to trade Trent McDuffie, but given the situation they're in, it may make sense for them given their roster construction.
We'll see. There are some options, man, but they all of a sudden, if you just push off Rashee Rice, which I can see is something that you look at like, let's just pretend like we don't have him. It does become a thing that is vital. This is maybe as important as the defensive end situation, which I would have walked into the offseason thinking was priority number 1.
I'll give you my ideal scenario within realistic outcomes. I don't think Mike Evans is necessarily realistic.
This gets me. They've never had a receiver like that. Did they? Like they would use? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Win deep. Mike Evans can still play if his hamstrings are healthy. His hamstrings just never seem to be healthy anymore.
That's problematic. But I'm just saying, like Andy has never used. They've never had wide receivers. Andy has never had the I'm going to run and throw my hand up guy.
He had T.O., but that's a little different. And that was 20 years ago.
But T.O. ran slants and ran other routes.
Mike Evans does too. But I hear like over the age of 30, you're probably right. Those hamstring issues, I would assume, probably don't get better. I think Juwan Jennings makes a lot of sense for what they need, man.
I have heard you on this Juwan Jennings train. I have heard that before.
I think he's a really good player. I also just think he does a lot of stuff that they need. Like, he's big, he's physical, he allows them to do the stuff that they did with Juju, but probably just at like a more athletic way. I think he has the attitude that they could really use on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think you're going to have to break the bank to go get him because he's a little older than I think a lot of people would anticipate. He's like 29 years old next year. So he's not the young guy like some of these other players, Romeo Dobbs, that's hitting the market. The projections are like 3 for 45. That's not a crazy contract, man. For a guy that could come in and catch 60 balls next year, I think that could be super useful. And then if you combine that with maybe a second-round pick at the receiver position, now you've got Xavier Worthy. We'll see what happens with Rashee Rice. You've added some depth. You've added upside. You've added a certainty, in my opinion, with a guy like Juwan Jennings. Within realistic outcomes, I think that's probably about as good as you could ask for this offseason.
All right. As I just said, the receiver position is marching up the board with Mr. Can't Get Right. Rashee Rice over there, kind of throwing a wrench into things. But I still believe you could still argue that defensive end and pass rusher is still the number one issue they have. The thing that I do love is it feels like very much like the running back situation. They have a lot of options both in the draft and in free agency potentially that they can make work. The big one that I was on until I had that treadmill moment was Reuben Bain Jr. He seemed to fit everything that Spags likes in a defensive end, the size and everything. But now, since he's been at the combine and we've done measurements, and now all hell has hit the fan with Reuben Bain. And Daniel Jeremiah said he believes he is going to drop on draft day. And his measurements came out. The big story that people are talking about, he measured in, sub 31-inch arms, which is the third shortest of any defensive end in NFL combine history. There has not been any player drafted with arms sub 31 inches since 1999 in the first round. There's never, there's a lot working against him, right? He also weighed in, I remember I watched this. I watched him in his playoff run during the season, and that kept going up on that screen, 6'3 plus and 275. I kept seeing it, and we're like, hey, that is a wet dream for Spags. That is exactly what he is looking for when it comes to an outside edge rusher. Then he measured at the combine, and he actually measured in shorter at 6'2", and then he measured in lighter by 12 pounds at 263. So everybody's talking about the arm length. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, that seems like something that Spags is really into. If you think about him being into that size stuff that he wants to get. How big a deal is this Bain measurement? Does this change anything about how you, not just how you feel, but more importantly, how you think the Chiefs feel about it?
I struggle with this stuff, man. I don't know what to do with it because, man, we're talking about a historical outlier of epic proportions.
Like the Dwight Freeney is it.
Yeah. Dude, 31-inch arms.
I don't even know what that means, but it seems very short when you start talking about everybody that has not done anything with that level of arms.
I mean, the only successful defensive ends that I can find, and success is maybe putting it a little strong, with this kind of arm length are Marcus Golden, former Mizzou defensive end. He had 31 and an eighth-inch arms. Carl Lawson had 31 and a half-inch arms.
By the way, these are all still longer.
Ashton Gelati, who is a Chiefs defensive end right now, last year measured in at just under 32-inch arms. Trey Hendrickson at 32 inches. Again, like Ron said, these guys are all still an inch longer than what we're talking about here. Like a full inch longer than Reuben Baines. Derek Barnett, 32 inches as well. Aiden Hutchinson, you remember that was the talking point with him. He had 32-inch arms. Like, it's just, it ain't easy to find guys that succeed with arms this short, Ron, and eventually it becomes a physics problem. Like, the other dude is going to put their arms out, and he's going to try to do the same, and they will be able to reach him before he can reach them.
Yes.
And, man, I watched the playoffs this year. I saw an offensive tackle who a year ago was considered to be like, man, this guy succeeded at LSU in the SEC as a freshman, started for them as a left tackle, never showed up on tape really that he had any issues with his arm length, was a stud for them for 3 years, take him surefire top 5 pick left tackle of the future of the New England Patriots. We get into the playoffs and Will Campbell's arm issues showed up. They were a problem. They were a huge issue for the New England Patriots, and the same thing could happen for Reuben Baines. So to answer your question, am I worried about it? Yes, I'm worried about it. I am genuinely concerned that this is going to be an issue for him in the NFL.
Serda, I don't really know that I know what it means, but when I start to see that nobody has, and I mean nobody has been able to succeed with that level of arms, that is that one's hard to just overlook.
It really is jarring. Like his arms are that short because, like,
And I'm already
I know,
convincing myself
like,
with Jeremiah Love. This does not help.
and that's been the whole thing. And prior to all of this, I think I was kind of like, if Ruben Bain's there, just take him, whatever. And now, like, I'm talking myself out of it because of the arms thing almost.
That's what it
I
is for
still
me,
think
too.
he's a really talented player, but it's the Chiefs and Spags are very specific in body types that they like with these types of players. I think that matters to Spags way more than probably anybody else, and even lots of other teams across the league. And there's a
I would
reason they go
argue,
after those kinds of guys.
I'd argue the measurements of him coming in 6'2" and 263 or something
Yeah,
that Spags
that's
is
why
looking
I
at too.
think I wouldn't be shocked if he's just not, like, he's not a player I think that'll get drafted by the Chiefs. Like, I like at number 9, if he's there, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs just passed on him specifically because of his weight and arm length and just his overall measurables.
So I'll add one other thing to this conversation as well, because I've heard a lot of people saying, like, yeah, but we've seen some guys succeed. Yeah, look back at Melvin Ingram. Like, he was a really good player, and I agree, Melvin Ingram was a really good player. You know what his career high was in sacks, Ron?
I know 7.5.
10.5. 10.5.
He got double digits.
He did twice. He did it twice. And the reason that I bring that up is because, like, do you guys think that people would consider Ruben Bain a success if over the next 4 years he produces the way that George Karlaftis did in his first 4 seasons?
Not at 9. Not at 9.
I agree with you.
Not when
And
Jeremiah
if that's
Love
the
is out there.
case, that is basically what Melvin Ingram was for his entire career, is what George Karlaftis has been over the last 4 seasons. And that's more of a number 2 pass rusher than a true number 1 alpha. And I think that's what you're looking for at number 9 overall. Like, if you're taking a defensive end there, you kind of want the guy to be able to be a little better than what George Karlaftis has been for you.
You're looking for a special player in the top 10. If you're
absolutely.
The Chiefs. Yeah.
And maybe that guy just doesn't exist in this specific draft. That happens sometimes where, hey, they got unlucky. They got the pick in the top 10 in the year where there weren't true blue chippers other than maybe the running back, right? Or a linebacker. Exactly. And that's possible. I would just rather take a swing on the upside. And if the upside here is Ruben Bain becomes the next Melvin Ingram, I don't know, man. I'd take him somewhere, but I don't think the top 10 is the place where I take that specific player. I take that guy outside of the top 15 most likely. And that would push me more toward, all right, well, if the opportunity cost to taking Jeremiah Love is I don't get Ruben Bain, well, a week ago, if he had 32-inch arms, 33-inch arms, maybe I prefer the Ruben Bain side of things. Now, it's a little easier to pass up on Bain for somebody like a Jeremiah Love. Or even, hey man, Sonny Styles today ran a 4.4 as a linebacker. He could be like a special Derek Johnson plus level linebacker. I don't know, man. I probably wouldn't want to take a linebacker in the top 10. Is he going to be special, though? Could he be Fred Warner? Like, could he change the look of your defense? Maybe that's more valuable than a Ruben Bain who's going to be the next Melvin Ingram.
I think Caleb Downs fits into that.
There you go.
Is he a special? I don't want to take a safety at 9, but is he going to be a difference maker? I think so. Yeah.
You know what else I'm willing to do right now, Ron?
Oh, God, hell.
Have you seen any of the stuff on Caleb Binks today? Have you seen this kid?
Yes.
He is 6'6". He is 330 pounds, and he has an athletic profile that is as good or better than Chris Jones.
He also said he wants to run through somebody's face. I believe that's exactly what I believe that's what he said. I want to run through somebody's face.
But he's a defensive tackle out of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he's going to be a top 10 pick.
What was his broad? His broad jump was something nuts, I believe.
9'6", again at 330 pounds.
He said again.
I just, man, if we're going for upside here, I think you could start to talk me into some of these other guys over what they're potentially going to get out of Ruben Bain. I watched Bain. He's awesome. I'm probably going to be wrong on this, but there are just other players in this year's draft that I think I would start to veer toward because of the historic outlier nature of what it would mean for him to be a successful NFL player, much less like a Pro Bowl caliber NFL player.
What about Omar Norman Lott?
What about him?
Damn, BK, come on, man. Don't hit him with a what about him. Omar's coming back. He's charging back.
I think he's a really nice, like, third defensive tackle.
But realistically, like, because I listen, I do think the Ruben Bain total measurements, not just the arm, I think that affects things. Now, maybe the kid from Auburn, I think they potentially like as well. That could be there. There's some pass rushers there, but they still need to address this. And they may need to address this out, big time, and more than just with the draft. They need to address this with somebody that I think they know they're going to get somebody. We've seen the Bradley Chubbs potentially available. We've seen others. Like, that is definitely a position that I want to see them enter the draft with answers.
Got an answer for you, Ron. I've got the name. And this would have been way cooler if I'd brought this up prior to him becoming like the buzz of the NFL Combine today. I talked to Carrington about it yesterday. Man, Kayvon Thibodeau's the guy. He's 6'5", he's 260, former top 5 overall selection. They drafted over him. They traded for Brian Burns. He's kind of out of their rotation. He's on his 5th-year option this year at, I think, $13 million. It's the same situation for them with Kayvon Thibodeau as the Chiefs are in right now, kind of with Trent McDuffie, where I think doing this would necessitate the Chiefs to trade Trent McDuffie, and I don't think that Thibodeau is as good as Trent McDuffie. But he plays a more valuable position in Spags' defense, and it is a position that they need more right now than a nickel corner with Trent McDuffie. And McDuffie's just going to have a ton of value. Like, you could get a late first-round pick value if you're going to trade him this offseason. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is the guy that I'd be targeting starting, like, today. If I'm in Brett Veach's shoes, I'd be trying to trade. I don't know what the compensation is going to have to be. Maybe a third, maybe a 4th-round pick, like a future pick, something like that, because he's on that 1-year deal. I'd make that move if I'm in Brett Veach's shoes.
Serda, before you jump in, I want to say, but this Kayvon Thibodeau thing, it really turns me on. I really like that. I think that turns Spags on. That is, you give me Kayvon Thibodeau on one of the edges, we go and get somebody in the draft. I feel much better of that. Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, who I think had a down year and off year, and then you have somebody young for the future. I really like that move a lot. I don't know how they pull that off. And you're right, they are crowded at the defensive end pass. I mean, they had the kid they drafted last year in the middle of the field, like having a blitz and having a rush from there. So I really like that move. I'm in on that. They got to get somebody going into the draft that you can, because I feel like Kayvon Thibodeau, I'm confident, can beat one-on-ones.
Yeah. I think he's a player that hasn't fully lived up to his potential in the NFL just yet, but the talent's definitely there.
It is. You're on mute. I mean, you're giving us something, man. I could tell. I could see it in your eyes, man. You were bringing it.
If you finish the offseason and you trade Trent McDuffie, you do a bunch of restructures, but you don't touch the Chris Jones money, you've got enough money to play with. You trade for Kayvon Thibodeau, get let's say it's a 3rd-round pick the Chiefs have to give up there because he's, former top 5 pick, still got that upside that we've talked about. 3rd-round pick for Thibodeau. You end up selecting, let's say it's Caleb Downs at number 9. The board breaks a certain way. You end up with Caleb Downs there. You go out into free agency and you decide to make a move. You get Juwan Jennings at wide receiver and you sign Travis Etienne. I'm feeling pretty good about that offseason right there.
But I just think you need to watch that 22-minute highlight tape. I just think you just need to check it out. I just think
He's special.
Hey, by the way, if they don't do anything leading into that draft, we and everybody knows that they are throwing all of it to Jeremiah Love. And I don't think they're going to put themselves. What is, just real quick, what is I know we got to get out of it. What is a secondary running back option where you're like, all right, they can bring him in, but still, like, we know because if they bring in ETN, they're not drafting Jeremiah Love.
Dowdle, Algier, Rashad White, J.K. Dobbins. That's your
any
list.
of those guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they can still do it if they bring in one of those guys.
Yeah, they can't draft J.K. They can't bring in J.K. Dobbins. Nobody. I mean, he can't stay healthy. That's just stop. Nice kid, I think. Just can't stay healthy. We are out.